morning, this is your host Vaughn Sigmund, and you're listening to the Business Mechanic Show here on BPM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Also, we're streaming live on YouTube right now. I've got my online class in front of me. We're talking about corporate alignment today and the importance of getting everybody on the same page in an organization from the bottom to the top, but it's got to start at the top, and it starts with a commitment to alignment. Today I'm going to go through and talk about all the benefits of being properly aligned, what's missing, more importantly, if you're not aligned properly as an organization, how it affects you, what the downside of that is. I got to tell you, after a multi-decade career as both a direct report to someone above me and as a key decision maker with dozens of people reporting to me, I've personally experienced the value of a well-aligned organization. And of course, the perils and difficulties created by an organization that's not aligned. Let me tell you, those are my most painful memories. And let me tell you, as an employee in any organization, if your company is not well aligned, it's painful. You may not know exactly why, and I'm going to talk about some of the manifestations of poor alignment. You'll start being able to relate to a lot of this as I talk through it. And now I work with businesses all across the country, particularly here in Southern California. I've worked with a couple overseas they're looking for solutions to their corporate culture and the solutions to the challenges created by a poor or inadequate culture. And I got to tell you, the root cause, it is my opinion, and it's the opinion of many other people who do things similar to me, that poor corporate culture starts from the top. And it's because that corporation, that organization is poorly aligned. But first, what is alignment? Well, the broad definition of that is the side-by-side working relationship that creates great results as a daily result, daily habit over the organization and all that work with it. Is a daily reality for both key decision makers and direct reports. And how does misalignment, which is so very prevalent in corporate cultures and very much in the small to medium-sized businesses I love to work with, how does that manifest and look like? Or how does alignment not look like? Another way to put it. Simply put, very simply put, one hand does not know what the other is doing. Miscommunication is a steady diet. One hand does not know what the other is doing. Employees are, from this, very underproductive, and they're often confused by differing priorities and directions depending on what manager or executive is speaking to them at that time. Here's kind of the typical scenario. The CEO of the company has a vision, a mission, a set of goals that they're shooting for that are critical to the future success and times the survival of a company. And this CEO, he sits down with his direct reports and he sets his expectations. He tells them what they need to go get done, slaps them on the back, directs them to go out and get this accomplished, and then they sit back and let them go out and get stuff done to get that mission achieved. And he's on to bigger CEO stuff and all the distractions that come with that. That role has a ton of distractions. I know, I've been one. Then at some point in the not too distant future, the CEO realizes that what they wanted to get accomplished, well, it ain't getting accomplished. Now he or they may have had a regular strategic or tactical meeting with his direct reports, or maybe not. Typically I see more not than do. They make a lot of assumptions in their lives. And the result from not having not only the right direction up front, but the right approach to stay on top of the goals that are set from within the organization to go accomplish these tasks and duties and metrics and that sort of thing. The result from that approach is generally the same. Often the discussion with the direct reports is one way, very highly directorial. It's very top down. Here's what I want. You should want it too. And I'm the boss. And if I want your damn opinion, I'll give it to you. It's that sort of approach. Now, that's an over-dramatization, but I'm trying to make a point. And sometimes you got to exaggerate to make a point. But it's really kind of the way it is. Don't discount that as being too extreme, because I've seen it often enough to know it's really pretty close to reality. It's in the head of the boss, they know what they want, and that everyone around them should want the same thing they want. Everyone working for them should want to, because it's their job, period. Which is wrongo bucko. This is the single worst approach any chief, any executive, any manager can take. I'm going to talk about broadly corporate alignment today, but everything I'm talking about boils down into lower and lower levels in your organization. It could be your team. It could be your executive team. It could be your management team. It could be any team within your organization. These techniques and priorities I'm going to talk about today work in all of them. But if you want a corporation that is well aligned, highly functioning, highly successful in total, it's got to start at the top with the CEO. Because that top-down approach almost always has the opposite effect that the CEO desires. You know, at its very best, it just slows everything way damn down. And that CEO gets frustrated that nothing's getting done as quickly as they want it done, or it's not even getting done at all, or it's simply being done wrong. In other words, they're in their mind, they're thinking, my company's as screwed up as a soup sandwich. And then the blame begins. Everybody working for them is a screw up. They don't care. They're lazy. They're incompetent. All these things are going through the boss's mind. Blame, blame, blame everywhere. But at the place it should be blamed is in that damn mirror that CEO looks at every morning. That's the root cause. That's where it starts. Or the executive, or the manager, or the team leader. If your team is not performing and getting done what you expect them to get done, it starts with you. Don't try to place that blame any other place. And if you do all the things I'm going to talk about today, if you do them really well, you commit to them, you commit to the change, I'm telling you, you will start kicking ass with the best of them. All kinds of great things are going to happen. Now back to the boss, back to the CEO, back to you, the executive or the manager. They're not getting things done. Do they do this? Do you do this because you're just a jerk? And you know that's not the case, not at all. You're just working with the tools you have to work with. And the alignment process I'm talking about today, understand again, it applies to all levels of management. If you're an executive or manager and you have a team, well, all the challenges and tools to overcome those challenges I'll talk about today will work just fine. But in the best case starts with the CEO. Because the lack of proper alignment is what's holding the vision and the future of that company back. The wrong process of achieving success, is being applied. You want them, you tell everybody what you want them to know. By the way, in your mind, it's their job. They should want it too. But there's more to executing this strategy than just telling people. There's so many things that are being left out and missed, which are critical to the success of the mission, the goals of your organization. The CEO and executive and management team, well, the reason all these things aren't getting done is they're just using the wrong tools and wrong approach to go accomplish their mission. I'm going to have to take a quick break here, and when we come back, I'm going to go a little deeper into the value of corporate alignment, and more importantly, all the things you need to be doing in your organization, both as an executive and a team leader, as a manager, to really turn the tide and get the success you've always wanted out of your operation. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss this. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is your host, Vaughn Sigmund, and you're listening to the Business Mechanic Show here on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. We're also live on YouTube right now. Hope everybody's enjoying this. This is being recorded for later. If you want to watch the video, you can catch it on BBM, its app, and TuneIn, its app. I'm also posting it on iTunes and iHeart, Podbean, SoundCloud, any of those mediums that you want to listen to the show later. It's out there for you, and I appreciate all the downloads and all the shares and all the listening that's going on with this information I'm sharing with you each week. Let's get back to our topic today, which is the value and importance of a solid corporate alignment. So common is the fact that you've got managers and executives that are highly educated, that know the tactics and the strategies within that organization really, really well. These are smart people. Smart people. They're just not exposing themselves to the right tools and thought processes. They don't have it in their toolbox to go get things accomplished at a higher level. In the end, they just don't know what they don't know. They're smart, they're just ill-equipped and misguided. And maybe in denial, maybe. Let's go a little deeper into this scenario. Back to the CEO and giving his top-down direction, or her top-down direction. The boss then directs the direct reports to go out and start working on their individual departments and teams to meet these demands, the demands this chief set up. But what happens now is when the wheel starts coming off, because they all go out in their own independent agendas with no collaboration within the executive teams, much less their teams, to get these goals accomplished. With no collaboration or input from their peers, and more importantly, not from the team of employees who at the end of the day, they're the ones that got to get all this done. They're the ones that got to execute this at a high level. You leave them all out and you don't get their input, you don't get their buy-in as to how to go accomplish these, you're missing on a ton of horsepower. But it happens every day, thousands of times a day. So the CFO, they have their priorities, and the COO has their priorities, and on and on. They then take that same within their roles, their teams. They take this same top-down approach because they're following the lead of the leader, and they meet with their direct reports and download the mission. They look around at the end of the meeting with a stern look on their face, and they say something like, "Does anybody have any questions?" Hell no, I ain't going to be the tallest nail in this room. But seriously, now that's a little bit of an exaggeration. And some people will ask clarifying questions. Most people do not like to work in undefined or ambiguous environments, but they'll put up some questions. But remember, this is all being done in a silo. And no one in the other silos know how the other department is approaching this challenge or achieving the goal. They are most times completely oblivious to the other department's approaches. Then the reality that the other department's approach may be conflicting or impede another department's approach. They start butting heads. I got my agenda, you got your agenda, we're out achieving our agenda, and not always is there synergy, successful synergy between those agendas. Everybody goes out with these different priorities and tasks with the very best of intentions, by the way. Again, these are smart people. I'm sure you're very smart. But as these different departments, individuals start executing, several issues start cropping up. One boss from another department. This one I love. I've seen it so many times. One boss from another department sees someone doing something that is in conflict with how they personally instructed their people to go do something, accomplish something. And they walk up to this person that's not doing it their way and tell that person, although they're in a different department, they tell that person that they're seen to stop doing what they're doing because they're doing it the wrong way. Now, put yourself in the employee's position. A boss is a boss. And if that's the way a boss wants it done, then I'm going to change what I'm doing. And no way I'm going to get in trouble. I don't want to get yelled at. And so this employee starts doing it the way this latest boss told him to do it. And then their actual boss comes by, their direct supervisor comes by and see them doing it in a way that's different than they originally told them to do it. And what are you doing? What the hell are you doing? The employee's now pretty confused and says, well, I'm doing what the other boss told me to do. Now you got a confused employee. You got one boss that's mad at another boss because they interfered with their employee. We're all territorial when it comes to that. And then in the employee's mind, which is again the person that's got to get this goal accomplished, it's just unimaginable to them that all these bosses are not on the same page. I mean, for God's sakes, they're in meetings all damn day. How are they not talking about this with each other? And so then this is very detrimental. That maybe my boss doesn't know what he's doing. My boss got it wrong. And now their direct boss, after they've corrected them back to the old way, this employee now has all this emotional baggage. Should I be respecting my boss? Do they know what they're doing? Am I even doing the right thing? Should I even work that hard because somebody's just going to come along and tell me how to do it differently in a minute? There's all this emotional baggage. There's frustration, confusion, fear that comes along with these bosses not being in alignment with each other. In the employee's mind, they just wish somebody would tell them what to do so they do it right the first time. Everybody shows up for work wanting to do it right every day. But because you, the leader, are not in concert with the others who are out there trying to accomplish this same mission or goal, well, you're just causing all this confusion and dysfunction within your organization, and things just are not going to get done at the level and the speed, the pace that you want to get it done. All right, I'm going to pause just 1 second. Are any of you guys getting this? Is this relative to, can you relate to this? Let me just jump ahead a little bit now. So these goals are not being achieved, much less, the execs just are not seeing the improvements. And the CEO scratching their head and looking for someone to blame, because blame plays a big part of this when you're not properly aligned. And then the executive's fault, the CEO's fault, it could possibly be their fault. I mean, you told everybody what to do. Why can't they just think for themselves, right? Or the execs, they blame each other. If sales had done their job, or accounts payable pulled their weight, or if shipping had not gotten so far behind, and marketing, oh my God, marketing's always screwing up like they always screw up. And it's full circle, right back to the boss. They call in, the boss calls in the executive team, and he wants an update on why things are not getting done. And these very smart executives will rarely accept the blame as their misguided approach in the first place. Because it's way easier to blame their people or each other or the economy, the competition. And once again, the CEO is let down. And it's another cut of 1,000 cuts. It hits its mark. You see where I'm coming from here? You get it? You know, I'm the root cause guy, and I'm looking at this very common scenario that plays itself out all kinds of places all day, every day, thousands of times. Where did it start? Where does this come from? Yeah, it starts at the CEO or at the manager or at the executive not using the proper tools. And that tool is proper alignment. But most CEOs, most leaders, managers, they're just unaware that the right tool even exists. They look over at their competition and they see that they're getting better, but their company's capped for some reason. Their own company just is faltering and stuck in a rut, and they can't get to where they want to get. Well, that's just the Peter principle. That's the Peter principle, just putting the cap on the ability of your company to succeed because you've tapped out your potential, your knowledge, your ability, your competency. You just don't know what you don't know. And why? Because, again, you're educated, you're experienced. You may have an MBA or some other advanced degree. And you know your topic, you know your specialty really, really well. And very often you want to just go find a new process. It must be the process. Or we just need better software. Or maybe we need to bring some consultants in to show us how to get these things done. Or maybe we need to just start firing people and finding better people to get it done. People who are more competent, willing to work harder. And if you're listening to me, you've probably experienced this and know how it is. Now let's dig into how to achieve corporate alignment. But first, I got to go on a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go into some of the steps, the most important steps of achieving very fine corporate alignment. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss this. We'll be right back. This is your host, Vaughn Sigmund, and you're listening to the Business Mechanics Show here on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. We're also streaming live right now on YouTube, being recorded for your watching and listening pleasure later on BBM, TuneIn, and YouTube, and SoundCloud, and podcasts, and all kinds of other places out there. So check it out later if you don't have the time to listen to all of it now. So let's dig back into corporate alignment, our topic du jour. It's a secret. It's a secret that is not so secret. That the most successful companies out there, they utilize this tool of corporate alignment in their culture, and it is a key ingredient it's the key ingredient that makes them dominate their competition. You don't have to be smarter. You don't have to be richer. You don't have to have more resources. In fact, corporate alignment is very inexpensive, very inexpensive. It has a huge ROI. You just got to use the tools that are out there. So what are the tools and approaches that are required? Well, first and foremost, it's commitment. It's a mindset change. I talk about it in my Transformational Triangle of success. It's a mindset change, and it's a commitment from the top down, which in many times is a very hard pill to swallow due to ego, self-esteem. Most executives have gotten there because they're driven people. They want to succeed, and self-esteem and ego drives them there. And executives can be very smart, but they can also be very misaligned in their approach. Believe me, I've experienced it. So let's talk about what alignment is, how to achieve it in your company. I want you to know that this requires a transformation in your mindset as a leader, and certainly throughout your company. It starts at the very top, the owner or the CEO. And then it comes down to the manager or the leader of any team. And understand these are not just for the CEO, they're for everybody that leads people. They're for anyone managing and leading people. It is critical to your future success. So let's go get you on the path. How about that? Now, I'm going to put in a little plug for myself here in Allen Training Centers. I provide Alignent training. I provide Alignent training as part of my services. Here's the program. If your workplace is out of alignment, if you're starting to relate to what I'm talking about today, your organization is not achieving its greatest potential success, reach out to me. I've got the magic pill. It's sometimes hard to swallow, but this stuff works. And I've utilized it myself for over a decade. I've worked in a Fortune 100 best places to work. I have led up to 3,000 people in a $2 billion organization that I was directly responsible for. I know how this stuff works so well. Each month, millions of managers leave their jobs voluntarily. Millions of other managers would leave their jobs tomorrow if the right opportunity came along. 70% of the American workforce is disengaged, and 50% of your frontline employees don't like their boss and would leave that manager tomorrow. No matter what business we're in the people businesses, and this is a big part of the people business. These are really startling statistics that are a sleeping threat to your organization. It's a threat to the productivity, it's a threat to the revenues. But the good news is there's a solution. There's a solution to building an organization where better communication, greater collaboration, passionate commitment become the norm. It becomes the culture. And that's called Alignent, which is our leadership development training program designed to grow your team. It empowers them to be better aligned with your organization's goals and visions, as well as for everybody whom they work. 12-month program, so it's a commitment. Each month it's about a 2 to 2.5 hour session in length. There's videos, there's homework, there's classroom, there's role plays. And if you're ready to make these internal changes to gain the momentum you desire, achieve your vision, work less, make more money, enjoy even higher sales, spend way less time firefighting, retain your best employees, hey, you need to get in touch with me. We can get all that fixed. Let's move on to what alignment is and why alignment between the key decision makers and direct reports is absolutely essential. First, your company must have mutual commitment around alignment. You got to understand it takes time and it takes commitment. Then it's the responsibility of the direct reports to walk the talk. They've got to live, evangelize the key decision makers' missions and visions. So the CEO has got to be committed. All of their direct reports have got to be committed. And those direct reports have got to evangelize. They've got to walk the talk so that the people who are reporting to them, their direct reports, are being led by example. And as you walk through all this, you gain your own commitment, which gains the commitment of everybody working around you. Using these tools in the way we teach you to use these tools, and as you work through all of it, it's going to identify where alignment is lacking in your organization. You need to do a self-assessment, and that self-assessment can show you where you can have your biggest impact on alignment. Now, let me once again give you my website, vsigma.com. I can send you over a free assessment, vsigma.com. Just ask me for the corporate alignment assessment. I'd be happy to send that over to you, and we can discuss it if you want. And then once you start putting alignment into place in your organization, the outcome looks like this. Your team is generating mutual commitment to any goal or mission that you've got out there. The key decision maker accepts that their direct reports are tactically and constructively engaged. to constructive change because your teams now are working collaboratively to accomplish goals. And let me say this, one of the essential tools is that the direct reports, they've got to complete a monthly commitment form. It's another, that's an accountability task that's got to take place. That way the mission or goal doesn't get lost. We keep it top of mind. We don't let other distractions take you off your mission. You build a routine around it. And I know this works. I've done it for decades, both as an executive, a manager, and as a direct report. I've lived it. I've led it. I know it works. And collaboration is key to all this. And let's talk about some of the mindset changes. First, understand and accept there are no bad teams, only bad leaders. The success or the lack of success for any team is always tied back to the leader, as I talked about at the beginning of this. And the accomplishments or the lack thereof will be the fault of the leadership leading the proper way. Let me tell you just a quick story to put all that in perspective, the impact of great leaders. It's always a leadership problem, folks. We're going to go down to Camp Pendleton, and there's SEAL instructors up on the beach. They've got 6 teams out in rowboats doing a rotation out to a buoy, around the buoy. You got members on each boat team, 6 members on each boat team that has a leader on each boat team. So you got the instructors, you got 6 boats, 6 people in each boat, one of them being a leader. And the goal for each of those boats is to get out through the breakwater, around this buoy, and back to shore. It's race after race after race. And as they're exercising all this, there's one team that stands out above the rest. Almost every rotation, this team is winning. The instructors are noticing this, and they also realize that there's another team that almost every time is losing. Almost every time is coming in last or almost last. So the instructors, as an experiment, decide to switch leaders. They took the winning leader, put it on the losing boat, losing leader, put it on the winning boat. Let's do this rotation again for a few more times and see what changes. I think you know where I'm heading with this. All of a sudden, that losing boat, it starts winning. And that winning boat continually drops down the rankings to where it starts losing. It's almost always a leadership problem, my friends. So let me ask you a few questions. Are you willing to take a real assessment, look around you and understand and admit what your environment really looks like? Is it obvious to you and everyone else what you stand for as a leader? What your missions and goals are? Do you evangelize these goals on a regular basis? Do you walk the talk? Is your benchmark for success clear and understood by all? Do you as a leader clearly reflect your vision and standards to such a degree that ever having to read them is unnecessary? See, leadership is what determines how successful you and those around you are. If there's minimal success, there's minimal leadership. And understand there's very few real leaders out there, and that's what separates the best from the rest. These real, genuine, high-performing leaders stand for something, and their standards are brightly reflected in everything they do. These leaders are willing to put everything on the line for what they believe in. They love their people. They collaborate with their people. They draw from the insights and the power of their teams. And through all that, they create change and lead change like nobody else. Now, how are you connected and communicating your message and vision within your organization right now? Is your team connected? Does your team even care? What have you done to make them care? Does their direct supervisor know what each member of the team wants in life? Let me tell you, this is tool number 1, my friends. is if you don't know, if you haven't sat down and built a relationship with everybody that works directly for you, understand what their mission in life is, what their goal in life, what they want to achieve in life. If you don't know that, then you're never going to get alignment. And let me tell you, when you start this exercise of sitting down, exercise one is you need to know what the goal or mission of everybody who works for you is in life. What do they want to get? Is it paying for a college education, paying off student loans? Do they want to buy a house? Do they want to move up to a higher position? What is it they want in life? Do they want security? Do they want safety, which is very common? What do they want in life? Do you understand that? Do you know that? And once you know that, then you've got a very powerful tool in your hands, because then you can start motivating this person, your direct reports, by tying their mission and goals in life to the company's missions and goals, for them to understand that if I do my job really, really well, then I'm going to be successful. The company's going to be successful. I'll get what I want when the company gets what it wants. Then you're in alignment. That's the glue. That's the secret tool that makes all this work. Tie their mission to your mission. Help them understand how if they're successful, the company's successful, and vice versa. Help your employees, help your team members get tied to the understanding that if they do well, they get rewarded. And when they get rewarded, the company's rewarded. How do you get your teams to care more? Let me answer that in a few ways. When you set out on a mission, a goal, a task, a strategy, do you collaborate with them? Do you get their input? When your boss and your peers decide to go out and achieve something, do you collaborate with each other so that you're in alignment there? So that if there's any unintended consequences for what you need to do or what you think your approach should be, do we eliminate that so we're not conflicted with somebody else? Do we start out on step number one the right way? And step number two is, do you then take that to your employees, your team members, and talk to them about how to achieve this mission? Because it's not a true goal, strategy, or tactic until everybody has had a say. Then once you've covered all that, there is no idea that doesn't get improved by a lot of input. And yeah, that takes a lot longer. But if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And this is just the absolute pinnacle of going together. It takes a little longer. It may take you weeks longer to even get set up to go accomplish your mission, your goal. But if you don't, you're never going to get everything you can. And the more you do that, the more you do that, the more you do that, collaborate and get input, you're getting buy-in, you're getting commitment from your own team members. You're having regular tactical and strategic meetings, getting their input, refining the process in the way that you're going out and achieving this goal. The more you do that, the better everybody feels about their job, the more connected, the more aligned your organization becomes. Yeah, it's a slower setup in the beginning, but you're going to go so much further and so much more successfully to where you want to go. That's step one. Step two is you again. Are you consistent in good times and bad? Are you consistent? Or do they even know who they're coming to work for every day? I talked to a fella that used to work for me years ago at CarMax. I'd put out a post on LinkedIn and Facebook and was getting all kinds of responses from people about who the worst boss they ever had was. And Dan responds back to me, and I thought I knew who Dan was going to say was his worst boss. I've told stories about that worst boss before, but it was somebody that got that was became his boss after I had retired from CarMax. And he's telling me this story about how inconsistent this person was. He never knew who he was going to see each day as the boss. They were emotional. They had highs, they had lows, they were mad one day, they were happy one day. From minute to minute, Dan didn't know who he was working for because the least little thing would set this individual off. And he said it was just amazing how he watched himself, and Dan is a high energy guy. He is a high energy guy that very little could ever shut him down. He said he could just watch everybody around him shut down, shut down, shut down. They just did not want to deal with this individual, much less get done anything that this person was looking to get done. You got to be consistent. She was really happy on good days and really, really mean on bad days. You got to be consistent. You got to be empathetic. Are you a master? Here's thing number 3. Are you a master of the basics and the technical stuff? Or have you lost touch? Know what you know what you don't know. Don't ever fake it, but you got to stay up to date with the basics. And when you experience failure, this is number 4, when you experience failure, do you confront the future of how you can go change things to be a winner next time? Or do you just wallow in the past, making really bad decisions, that was well said, making really slow decisions or no decisions because of things that have happened to you in the past? Yeah, we learn from history, but it's real important that you always look at failure as an opportunity to learn. There are no bad teams, there's only bad leaders. And understand that leadership is not born, it's made. And if you are listening to this show and you are not excited about stepping up your game as a leader, turn it off now. You probably already have. But you've got the power. You've got the power right now to make some radical transformations. But until you do, don't expect too much to change. You got to inject a winning standard of performance before you start winning. Here's kind of what abruptly happens when you take ownership of your life as a leader and all the situations that come with being a leader. When you inject a winning standard of performance, well, guess what? You're going to start winning. How would your life change if you made decisions today as if you were already the person you want to be tomorrow? We tend to live up to our own feelings of ourselves, for better or for worse. And if we plan to become something else, what better way to do that than to step into that skin right now? It does not matter what your current circumstance is. Winners act like winners, even before they start winning. So that's step number 1. Who are you in your head right now? The first thing that happens when you step up as a leader is that everyone around you is going to start looking towards success. They start craving it, you start craving it, they start craving it. You start believing, they'll start believing. In turn, your behavior starts changing, their behavior starts changing. It all starts with you. Number 2, how steady are you in the midst of chaos and success? As Bill Walsh said, consistent effort is a consistent challenge. Most people can't handle failure or success. They stay on a behavioral roller coaster depending entirely on external circumstances. When things aren't going well, they're overwhelmed or they're depressed. When things are going well, they're overconfident and become lazy. I've seen this happen in salespeople a million times. However, when you show up as a leader and your mindset and behavior remain constant regardless of success or defeat, you're marching forward to the beat of your own drum. Everything outside of you is noise. You're compelled forward by intrinsic vision and values. That consistency rubs off on everybody around you. You become a better leader, and your corporation is going to be much better aligned. Remain consistent. Next, performance measures. You've got to set clear performance metrics. Another quick story. When I retired from CarMax, after a 40-year career of running businesses, big businesses and small, I couldn't figure out for a long time, there was this big hole in my life. Now, I knew part of it when I went out on my own. I became a solopreneur for a while. It's nice to have some other people working with me now, but as I was a solopreneur, I missed being around people. I knew that was a hole, but there was something else missing. And then one day, I realized it. For 40 years, I got up every morning and I got to look at metrics. And those metrics determined how I felt about my performance and me every single day. Was I doing good? Was I doing poorly? Because those metrics were a reflection of me and my leadership. Now, I had thousands of people at times working for me that were accomplishing those metrics, but those were my metrics based upon how I was leading. But let me tell you, I never could have accomplished the success I was able to accomplish in those 40 years had I not set clear performance expectations around metrics. Where performance is measured, performance improves. Where performance is measured and reported, the rate of improvement accelerates. I would get up every morning to a sales report. And I would look at that, and I'd look at all the metrics, right? How many customers, close rate, test drives, credit applications, sales, extended warranties. I'd look at that every single day. And I'd be able to adjust my message or my approach. I'd be looking for trends. I'd be looking for ways that I could influence those numbers through the collaboration with my teams on a daily basis. Where performance is measured, performance improves. It's so many small to medium-sized companies are lacking all the metrics or are willing to share the metrics. I can't tell you how many companies, business owners, are afraid to report sales every day to the people who are charged with going out there and making sales every day. It's their future, but they don't know how well the company's doing. And I work for multi-billion-dollar corporations. I work for $100 million corporations. I work for $20 million corporations. Every day, those successful corporations talked about the business from the day before, month to date, year to date. But so many small businesses are afraid. They want to keep that to themselves out of secrecy for some reason. Wrong. You can't do that. You need to share how well the company's doing in the number one most important metric and any other metric that's going to become the waterfall to achieving your sales metric. They've got to be very clear. So if you're aligned with your team, and that's how you are right now. You need to come down. Listen, if there's metrics that aren't happening, and you need to come down on them because of some minor setback, and that's where your consistent behavior in bad times and good is so critical. Because if you come down on them in bad times, that's your reaction. You're going to make more bad times for yourself. Because that's when you've got to be supportive. If you're aligned with your people, they feel like they disappointed you if they're not delivering what you set out as an expectation for them. They feel bad. You don't have to make them feel any worse. Believe me, they already feel bad. That's when you need to be empathetic and supportive and encouraging to your team. And if in good times, you give them the credit, reward them for that, that's awesome. You're going to feed more success. And as a leader, if you reflect the standard of excellence, you walk the talk, if you set the example, well, that is the ultimate mark of excellence. Because when you show up as a leader, everything successful happens. And when you don't show up as a leader, everything falls apart. I was never perfect in my career. Believe me, I'm the first to recognize when I was a jerk or I dropped the ball or I got off track. But in the end, I think that's what made me a better leader, was I'd go pout for a little bit, realize I screwed up, would then get back on track and do it the right way. And that's the core. That's the core to this transformational triangle that I talk about. That's the core, is your own ownership of the results, your ownership of the people, your ownership of the goal. It all starts with you. You're the example of what optimum performance looks like. You become the living and breathing standard of excellence for yourself and others. And believe me, if you're setting the right standard, if you're walking that talk, if you're setting the example, what you're doing is going to be mimicked by all of those following you. Good and bad, by the way. So you are the ultimate bottleneck, or you're the failure to get things going in the direction you want them to go, the achievement of your mission and goals. Or you're the catalyst to all of it. You're the catalyst success. It's up to you. But you can't take people beyond where you are. They can't outgrow you. You determine how far they can and will grow, both personally and professionally. When you understand personally where they want to go, professionally they're going to deliver for you. If that is ambiguous or you're ambivalent about it, I got a couple big words in there, ambiguous and ambivalent about it, so are they. They absolutely are. But if you're passionate, you know them, you're encouraging to them, they respect you, you're building that respect, that is a power that is unstoppable as a leader. Who follows you? Who follows you is going to determine where you get in life. And if you as a leader, you aren't moving forward, then you're holding not only yourself back, your company back, but everybody that works for you, you're holding them back. Your results are always a reflection of your leadership. As a leader, you've got to be insanely determined to be the best possible you can be. Because the better you can become, the more clearly you can help others. Help others to get what they want in life. Because you've been there yourself. And you didn't start at the top, you worked your way up. And the essence of true leadership is pure ownership. You're no longer doing things for yourself, but you can take those around you much further as a solid, aligned leader. But this all requires a radical and permanent change in your environment and culture, and that's alignment. Man is not a creature of circumstance. Circumstances are the creatures of men. And you've got to work from the outside in. Most people are inside out. Most people work from the outside in. Most people focus on external environment. And thus, if that were not the case, we take people out of slums in hopes to improve their lives. That, according to my friends who are therapists, is the natural projection of self-esteem. We compensate in negative ways when our self-esteem is compromised. I'm starting to work on a book with a psychologist friend of mine on that very same topic right there, is how we compensate for our levels of self-esteem as a leader through our leadership. If our self-esteem is low or is threatened, we tend to act out in ways that are negative to our own personal missions and goals. But conversely, as a true leader who works from the inside out, you focus on the person, and thus you can take the slum out of the people and empower them to take themselves out of the slum so that they can improve their own lives. And if you're willing to admit that it's all your fault, one way or the other, then that, my friends, makes you a true leader. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really passionate. I hope that came through on the show today. I'm really passionate about this. This is truly the most high impact step you can take to make yourself not only an awesome leader, but make your company really, really unstoppable. And that's get aligned. Aligned as a leader, aligned as peers, aligned as teams. And if you want to know more about all this, reach out to me at vsigma.com. That's V as in Victor, S as in Sam, IGMON.com. Follow me on Twitter at VCSigman. Find me on LinkedIn. Follow me on Facebook, Vaughn Sigmund, the Business Mechanic. Again, I've got my collaborative leadership workshop coming up September 9th and 10th. It's going to be a great weekend. This is all going to be incorporated in it in a half a day exercise on getting you to the leadership level you want to get to, you need to get to be a high impact leader. All the strategies come into all this. Alignment is crucial. I appreciate everybody and all your comments out there. Keep up the great work, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks.